Call your next witness.
Carrol.
Good afternoon. Are you Carrol?
Yes, sir.
Welcome. This is our witness stand over here. Come on up, please. When you get your witness stand, you put your things down. Just remain standing for a bit. Raise your right hand, be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your full legal name for the record.
Carrol.
Please spell your first and last name for the court reporter.
Tarracarrol.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Ms. Carrol, that microphone in front of you will only adjust up or down. It doesn't move back and forth, all right?
Okay, thank you.
You're all set?
All set.
Counsel, if you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Miss Carrol. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Where do you work?
At Miramar Police Department.
How long have you worked at the Miramar Police Department?
I've been there now almost 7 years.
And what do you do at the Miramar Police Department?
I am a certified crime scene investigator.
Can you explain a little bit about the background and education that you have to become a certified crime scene investigator?
Yes, ma'am. I have my degree in crime scene technology. And then once on board with Miramar, we take quite a few trainings throughout our employment. I also became certified with IAI in 2019, which required another training as well.
Okay, so I want to go through some of the training that you've done over the years.
Okay.
Starting in 2012, was that part of your degree that you talked about?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what years did you attend and what college did you attend to get your degree?
That was Kaiser University, and it was 2012 to 2014. And we took what was considered core classes. So those were all hands-on training classes.
Were all of your courses at Kaiser University with regards to crime scene and forensics?
Most of them, yes.
Once you were employed with the Miramar Police Department, you said you did continuing training.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you attend classes in crime scene reconstruction?
I did.
Did you attend classes in bloodstain documentation collection methods?
Yes, ma'am.
Firearms and tool marks?
Yes.
Collecting footwear and tire impressions?
Yes.
Latent fingerprints and
Yes.
fingerprint identification?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do crime scene imaging?
I did.
Okay. Did you attend classes with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Incident Command?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you conduct new hire training with crime scene when you first came on to Miramar?
A couple of years in, then I would train some of our new hires.
Explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that first initial crime scene training is.
Training the...
At Miramar, when you first came on, what were you trained in, processes, procedures?
Okay, yes. We were trained in documenting, processing, and collecting evidence, but it was a 4-month training. So we basically shadowed whoever was working that day, and we were on 24/7 on call for 4 months straight.
So with regards to that, the individual that you were shadowing, do you recall who that was?
It was a couple different people. My supervisor, Michael Kelly, my coworker, Lisa Cruz.
And so with regards, you said Michael Kelly is your supervisor.
Yes, ma'am.
Has he been your supervisor the entire time you've been in crime scene?
He has.
After you finished your training, did you then begin casework as a crime scene investigator?
I did. At that time, I was considered a crime scene technician until I was certified and then became a crime scene investigator.
So what's the difference between a crime scene technician and a crime scene investigator?
It is the certification. It's a actually worldwide certification through the International Association of Identification. It's a prestigious forensic network.
And with the International Association of Identification, is there proficiency testing that is done?
What do you mean by proficiency?
Do you have to take coursework and show that you are able to do the work that you are certified?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We had to have a certain amount of training hours. I believe it was maybe 120 of their certified trainings. And then you also had 2 college textbooks, pretty big books that we were tested on. We had 100 question tests as well.
As a crime scene technician or crime scene investigator, are you a sworn law enforcement officer?
No, ma'am.
Are you a civilian employee?
Yes, I am.
I want to draw your attention back to October 26th of 2018.
Okay.
Did you have an occasion to become involved in the investigation under Miramar case number 18-10-06269?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your role?
I became involved, I believe it was the day after, when there was a search warrant obtained for a gray Jeep.
Ms. O'Shea?
It was me. I apologize. I hit the wrong button.
Okay, going back to October 26th of 2018, were you asked to assist crime scene technician or crime scene investigator Christopher Carter executing a search warrant?
Yes.
Okay. When you got that call and you responded to the West substation, what were you assigned to do?
I was assigned to assist him in processing the vehicle.
Did you collect swabs of DNA?
I did.
What side of the car were you responsible for?
I was responsible for the passenger side of the vehicle.
Did you also collect latent fingerprints?
I did.
And what side of the car were you responsible for the latent fingerprints?
That was the driver's side. I did the latent.
While you are on scene and processing the items that you collected, are you taking photographs on scene during the search warrant of the Jeep?
Christopher was taking the photographs, yes.
That was your job to take photographs at the lab?
Yes, I took photographs of whatever I collected.
Okay. And so is there a specific reason why you take your photographs and he takes his?
We've always done it that way. That's just the policy.
Okay. Showing defense counsel, they previously had an opportunity to go through, states MM for identification purposes. Investigator Carrol, did you have an opportunity to review the photos in the USB here prior to coming into court?
I did.
Do those photos fairly and accurately depict the items that you processed at the lab after they were collected?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know that those photos are the same that's on that USB?
Because I initialed the USB.
Here, at this time, the state would request to submit the state's MM into evidence and publish to the jury.
Is there any objection?
No objections.
They'll be admitted. How many photographs are there, Counsel?
Just one moment, Your Honor. I think 37, but I'm going off memory.
States MM will be marked states 37.
24, I apologize. 24 photos.
Composite of 24 photographs. Thank you. Thank you, Counsel.
I got it.
very quick. Sorry, Bobby, you want to discuss this girl if you want.
Yes.
Thank you. So that you can see the image in front of you on the screen as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the item 1 that's on there, what's the purpose of that item 1?
One would be the photo marker, so that would explain, once you look back at the photos of the search warrant, every piece of evidence that was collected is marked with a number. So you would see a cone or some sort of photo marker. So that's what was noted as photo marker 1.
The liquids that are in these bottles, are they maintained by the Miramar Police Department?
No, so we did, I believe there was a sample of the liquid taken out of the Zephyr Hills bottle, but no, we don't submit liquids to property and evidence.
Going on to the next photo, this was found at what photo marker?
At number 2?
Moving on to photo marker number 3,
Yes, ma'am.
where this was found in what area of the Jeep?
May I refer to my report?
Please, if that would help, or refresh your recollection.
Number 3 was found on the front passenger side floorboard.
On item number 3, we're still looking at that same number. What is this photo showing?
Usually we'll photograph the front side and then again the back side.
The green leafy substance that is visible in this photograph, was that submitted for testing at the Broward Sheriff's Office Crime Lab?
Yes, ma'am.
Going on to item number 4. Were these items collected from that same Jeep?
From the same Jeep, yes, ma'am.
And in terms of the receipt, are you familiar with the Fountains of Miramar?
I am.
And the Chick-fil-A indication restaurant on the top of that. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where that is in the city of Miramar?
If I'm correct, the Fountains would be out west. I'm not exactly sure the names of the streets.
Okay. And in terms of the date and time on this receipt, is this clearly and accurately depict this photograph, how the receipt looked when you collected it on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what date is on there?
October 25th, 2018 at 11:20 a.m.
Okay. On item number 4, you indicated this would be the back side of any of those items.
Yes, ma'am.
Item number 5, is this depict how you found this in the Jeep?
Yes, ma'am.
Item number 6,
Yes.
and you recall where these were found, this item?
I believe it was in the, like the cubby of where the handle on the door was.
Item number 7,
Yes.
what are we looking at in item number 7?
That would be a projectile.
Item number 8, do you recall collecting these items?
I do.
And where were they found? Do you need to refresh your
Yes,
recollection? If there's anything that would, please do so silently to yourself and look up when you're done.
You know, I'm sorry, I don't have listed the location of that. It was on the passenger side. I just, I would have to see an overall photo. I'm going to know for sure.
So in terms of wherever photo marker number 8
Yes.
was, the yellow cone or placard.
Exactly. Exactly.
The green leafy substance in this one by photo number 8, was that also sent to the Broward Sheriff's Office Crime Lab for analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we stipulate that that's marijuana, just move it on.
So then, in terms of that stipulate to the introduction of states LL?
I stipulate that it's marijuana, I didn't stipulate to its introduction, I object to its relevance.
So with regards to...
Mr. Sidebar, please, sir. One second, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, when lawyers or parties agree that certain facts are true, that is called a stipulation of fact. You must accept stipulated facts as having been proven. However, the significance of these facts, as with all facts, is up for you to decide. In this case, the stipulated fact that you must accept as true is that the item in marker 8 is cannabis. The green leafy substance is cannabis or marijuana. Is that
Thanks.
correct stipulation, counsel?
That is correct, sir.
State?
So accepted, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to photo marker number 9. Did you document in your report where photo marker number 9 was?
Rear passenger floorboard.
Okay. The item that we're looking at here, what is this?
Cell phone with a cover.
Did you collect and process items 10?
I did.
Item 11.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 21.
Yes.
Are you able to preserve item 21 at the Miramar Police Department Property and Evidence Unit?
No, we're not.
Why?
Because it's a flammable substance and it can't be checked into evidence.
Okay. Prior to checking it into evidence, do you process any such items?
I do.
How so?
Depending on the item and what is requested of us, usually we'll swab it for DNA or fingerprint.
Moving on to item 22 and 23. These are processed and collected. What is item number 24?
That would also be a projectile.
And which side of the car did this projectile come from?
Okay.
If you need to refer to your notes, please do so. Want to make sure you're accurate.
Okay, this one was on the driver's floorboard underneath the pedals.
So this is now item 25. What are we looking at here?
Yes, ma'am. This was a combination of items that were found in the pocket behind the seat. May I look at my report
Please,
again?
if you need to.
Behind the front passenger seat.
The phone that we're looking at in this photo, was it turned on?
I don't know.
Was there any damage to that phone?
I don't recall it It doesn't appear so from the back shot.
Okay. And then going on to item 27.
Okay.
Did you recover that item?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall what part of the car that projectile was recovered from?
I'm pretty sure that was inside of the seat.
And if you want to verify, take
Yes,
a moment to refresh
please.
recollection, please do.
Removed from the inside of the rear passenger side seat.
With regards to the processing
Yes.
for DNA, did you do that on October 30th of 2018?
Yes, I did.
Okay. The photographs that we just went through, were those taken on October 31st of 2018? And if with looking at the data on the phone or on the photos themselves on the screen help you?
Oh, yes. There you go. Yes, ma'am.
So after you took those photos and you documented all of those items, did you then try and process items for latent prints that were recovered from the car?
Yes.
How do you do that?
To process for latent prints, we will usually start with a fresh pair of gloves. I'll place the item on a fresh pair piece of butcher paper. And then we use lid PV, black powder, and fiberglass brush.
And in terms of once you get the latents, what do you do to determine whether they are of value or not of value?
Okay, so once we lift them, and we'll place them on a lift card, which has the information on the back, the print on the front, then I'll usually pass it by my supervisor, see if he thinks it's a good enough quality to submit. And as long as he agrees, then we submit it to the BSO lab for analysis.
Does the Miramar Police Department do any in-house fingerprint analysis?
No.
In terms of, in this case, did you process all of the little blue round containers containing cannabis?
I processed the ones that we showed here, yes, in the pictures.
And in terms of finding latent prints, any that you found would have been submitted?
May I look at my report again? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to go forward to February 6th of 2019.
Okay,
On that date, did you collect glass from the Jeep?
I did.
What was the purpose of collecting the glass?
There was glass found at a scene out on US 27. So in order to determine that it was the same glass that came from the Jeep, they had collected that glass from the scene, and I went to collect the glass from the Jeep, from different parts of the Jeep, so then we could then send it off to FDLE for analysis.
So I want to start with showing you what's been previously marked as states N for identification purposes. What's been previously shown to the fence prior to showing you what's been previously marked as states N for identification purposes and shown to defense counsel.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize those items?
I do.
How do you recognize those items?
It's my handwriting.
What are they?
They are the latent lift cards from the vehicle. So those would be the actual cards that I told you that the print would be on the front and information on the back.
And are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you lifted them on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Here at this time, the state would request new states into evidence.
No objections, sir.
They'll be admitted.
States in will be marked states 38.
And approach with what's been previously shown as states LL. Do you recognize the items in states LL?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they in the same or substantially same condition when you collected them on October 26th of 2018?
Yes.
The heat sealed packaging with a green label on that, is that done by the Miramar Police Department?
No, it's not.
The other items inside, are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you recovered them?
Yes, ma'am.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states LL into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted.
States LL will be marked states 39.
Approaching and showing you what's been previously shown to defense counsel and labeled for identification purposes only as states double O. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
That appears to be latent, the cards?
Are those in your handwriting?
Yes, it is.
Are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states OO into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted.
States OO will be marked states 40.
Now showing defense counsel has been previously marked as states P for identification. Showing you now, Ms. Carrol, what's been marked as states PP for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that?
I do.
How do you recognize that?
It's also in my handwriting.
And is that item something you collected?
It is.
What is it?
There was a rental agreement for the Jeep and another receipt for a phone repair out of the glove box of the Jeep.
And are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you recovered them?
Yes, ma'am.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states double P into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted.
States double P will be marked states 41.
Showing counsel what's been marked as states Q. Investigator Carrol, I'm showing you what's been marked as states Q for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that?
I do.
How do you recognize that?
Also my handwriting.
What are those items?
These would be collection tins full of the glass fragments from the Jeep, from the separate areas of the Jeep.
Are those in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them in November of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Or I'm sorry, February
February,
2019. My
yes.
apologies. Your Honor, at this time, the state would request to move states Q in.
No objections.
It'll be admitted.
That's a composite of 3.
States QQ will be marked states 42.
Want to draw now showing defense counsel what's been marked as states SS. Investigator Carrol, I'm showing you now has been marked for identification purposes only as states SS.
Okay.
Do you recognize those items?
I do.
How do you recognize those items?
Also my handwriting and my initials.
Are those items in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected those on October 26th of 2018?
Yes.
And how do you recognize what those are?
Well, I see on the bag, it's 3 projectiles and I can hear them in the tins.
And are they in the same or substantially same condition?
Yes, ma'am.
You're at this time, the state requesting states SS in.
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted.
States SS will be marked States 43.
Showing defense counsel. Ms. Carrol, I'm showing you it's been previously marked as States T
Yes,
for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that item?
I do.
How do you recognize that item?
It's my handwriting, and I remember the item.
And is that item the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Here at this time, the state would request Ms. States T into evidence.
I have no objections.
It will be admitted.
States TT will be marked States 44.
I'm now showing you for identification purposes only what's been marked as States U for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that item?
I do.
How do you recognize that item?
By my handwriting.
And what is that item?
These is the pair of sneakers that were found on the rear passenger floorboard.
Okay. And are those the ones that you documented in the photos we looked at earlier?
The red ones, correct.
Are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them in October 26th of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Here at this time, the state would request permission to enter States U into evidence.
No objection.
It will be admitted.
States UU will be marked States 45.
So going forward now, Investigator Carrol, did there come an occasion in which you came into contact with the defendant, Jamell Demons?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Showing defense counsel that's been previously marked as States R. Investigator Carrol, do you recognize these items?
I do.
What are they?
These would be buccal swabs of Mr. Demons.
And explain what buccal swabs are, please.
They are swabs of the inside of your cheek to obtain your DNA.
Are these in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you identify for the record who you collected these items, the swabs from?
From Mr. Demons.
And can you please identify him by an article of clothing and where he's sitting in the courtroom?
Yes, at the defendant's table with the navy blue suit and silver shirt.
Silver shirt. Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant.
The record shall so reflect an in-court identification of the defendant.
And as to States RR, the state will submit those now into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, they'll be admitted.
States RR will be marked States 46.
So, Ms. Carrol, at this point, if I could ask you to bring some gloves and ask permission for her to step down to publish the items that have just been entered.
It's going to be on the screen.
Yes, Your Honor.
Garrett, on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
No, Garrett, you can just look forward. Thank you. Well,
So, Ms. Carrol, I'm going to start with asking you, if you investigate your own apologies, to publish the 3 projectiles, and I will get scissors for you. If you want to step to the podium back there. So I'm going to start by publishing States 43. Okay. Thank you. Just that. Is there an item number on each of these?
Yes, there is.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the item or group number is that's indicated on each of these property stickers?
The group number is basically just the item number. So each individual item that we collect gets an item number when it's put into property and evidence.
Are these stickers generated by property and evidence of the Miramar Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you could start with, and this is item number, you have it as 27. And would that correspond with the item number on your property receipt?
Yes, it would, and that's the photo marker number as well.
Okay. Maybe so kind just to publish, and then inside of it as well? And so 27, that was the rear seat projectile.
Yes,
Okay.
inside the seat.
Thank you. If you just want to move that one, close that one, so they don't get confused, and you put that up to the side. You go to the next one. If you show which this projectile is,
This is number 7, and that would be from the rear passenger floorboard.
okay, be so kind as to open that up. Thank you. And what item is this?
This is number 24, projectile front driver's side floorboard under the pedals.
Okay. Thank you so much. And if we could repackage those. And then next, if you would be so kind as to open the latent. And could you just pick one to show as a demonstrative to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the latent cards look like?
Sure. So this would be the front of the card with the tape where the actual lift happened. And we always initial down at the bottom. And then on the back of the card would give you the information, the date and time it was lifted, the address, and where it was lifted from.
Okay. And that would be the same for what's known as States 40 as well.
Yes.
I'd be so kind as to show those.
Sure.
Is there any rhyme or reason as to the different sizes of the latent print cards?
Well, usually the larger cards would be used if there's maybe a couple fingers or something that would be larger than this actual card.
And be so kind, and again, to show on the smaller version how it's done.
Yes, so this would be the front with the tape and the back with the information.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I will put that in there. Thank you. Okay. Can you resume your seat? Thank you. So, Ms. Carrol, I want to go forward to March 1st of 2019.
Okay.
Were you asked to process a cell phone that was recovered here at the courthouse?
Yes, I was.
On March 1st of 2019, I'm sorry, the iPhone that you were, or the phone that you were requested to process, what type of phone was it?
May I look at my report?
Yes.
It was a Apple iPhone X, gold rose in color.
Did it have a distinctive serial number on that phone?
It did.
And what was that serial number?
It's FFNXV1VPHF.
When you were provided that phone, what were you asked to analyze on it?
I was requested to both photograph and then process it for possible blood.
Did you do that?
I did.
With regards to the blood testing, what type of testing did you do?
I did Blue Star.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is Blue Star?
Yes, Blue Star latent blood reagent. It's a chemical that we could spray on something that we presume may have had blood at one time. It could have even possibly been cleaned up. And if there was a presence of blood, it reacts with the hemoglobin, different chemicals, maybe with the amino acids in the blood, and it fluoresces.
This rose gold iPhone X ending with the serial number of 1VPHF. Did it have any blue fluorescence or glow?
The results were negative.
With regards to the DNA swabs that were collected, does the Miramar Police Department do any in-house DNA processing?
No, ma'am.
One moment to confer with co-counsel.
Yes.
So I want to go back to November 28th of 2019.
Okay.
Were you present for a trajectory analysis?
I was.
In terms of your role in that analysis, what did you do?
I just assisted with placing the trajectory rods as well as labeling the rods to show the path of the bullets.
With regards to determinations of things on the outside of the car, what were you trying to establish?
The outside of the car, we were trying to establish basically, an approximate height of a shooter, as well as if there was any angles or exactly how the bullets hit the gun.
Did you do a shooting reconstruction?
No.
Is there a difference between those two?
Yes.
Are you trained and able to do a shooting reconstruction?
I am not trained for it, and we do not have the equipment for that. Yes.
So going on to later on in this investigation, have you had a chance to see that vehicle again since that processing?
Yes.
And were you made aware that additional agencies assisted in investigating that vehicle?
I was, yes.
Other projectiles were recovered that were not from the Miramar Police Department. Were you aware of that?
I was, yes.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why the Miramar Police Department couldn't get those projectiles out of the car?
Yes, in certain situations like that, you may have to take the car apart, basically, and we just simply don't have the type of equipment that would be needed for that.
Other than what we've talked about so far, does that complete and describe your involvement in the investigation in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Any cross-examination, Ms. Wood?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to clarify a few things. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Let me start where you ended. Ms. Bradley alerted you to the fact that there were some projectiles that were recovered from the vehicle that you had not recovered during your processing of the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
And did you find them? And just when you processed the vehicle, you found them, but you weren't able to recover. Is that what we're to understand?
No, we did. We collected everything we found.
Okay. So you didn't find it. It's not a situation where you found the existence of the projectiles, made note of them, but were unable to recover them. You just didn't find them.
We didn't find them. We documented all the holes, but we did not go into the metal or the, tear apart the seats looking for them. Yes.
Okay, but so you're saying the projectiles that you did not find were in holes, the existence of which you documented.
I'm assuming. I'm not positive about that.
Right. You don't even know that you found the hole that the projectiles were found in. You can't say that.
No. I mean, they would obviously have to be in one of the holes, but I would not know which holes.
Right. You might have missed those perforations altogether, is what you're saying.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know if that we did miss any, but it is possible.
Right. So you can't really help to educate us on how thorough your processing was, because you don't even know where the projectiles came from that you did not find, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because of course, if you saw a perforation in a part of the vehicle where a projectile obviously went into,
Right.
but you didn't see an exit, you would assume it was still in there, right?
Yes, but they can ricochet around the vehicle as well. That doesn't always mean that's the exit.
Sorry, I might have misspoke. You would speculate that maybe it's still in there.
Yes.
And since your department lacked the ability to take the vehicle apart, you would have alerted your supervisor, prosecutor, VSO to the fact that there is a perforation that we observed, but we lack the ability and technology to fully investigate, and therefore, in order to make sure that there is a complete investigation, please look into that. You would have done that, right? If you saw it.
We just document what we see. Like, I'm not the one that would be reporting that to anybody.
Okay.
So, yeah, we would just take photographs of what we see and place the rods in those areas.
Okay. So this would be kind of a not my job situation. I took a picture of a hole, something might be in there, but let somebody else figure out whether to go check for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right. I noticed that in various parts throughout your report,
Okay.
it indicates the sentence begins before it lists the items that you retrieved using a fresh set of latex gloves, right?
Yes, sir.
That's because you use a fresh set of latex gloves for each particular item that you retrieve?
Not necessarily. If the items that we're collecting are grouped together in a group, then that's usually the same set of gloves they're already touching.
Oh,
If I'm changing areas, then yes, I will change my gloves.
okay. So if you put on a set of latex gloves, let's take, for example, we saw a photograph that juxtaposed condoms with a Bible.
Okay.
Unholy matrimony, right? Okay. And you found them in the same location, that's why you took them in the same photo?
Yes, sir.
And you were presuming, therefore, that the same person put the Bible in there and the condoms in there? Or were you risking contaminating them by using the same gloves to retrieve them both?
They were all already grouped together, touching. So if there was any contamination to be done, it would have already happened. They were all bound together in the same place.
Okay, so you're telling me that all of those items were touching each other?
Yeah, it was in the back seat pocket.
Why does that mean they were touching each other?
They were all grouped together
Okay,
in
so you
the
don't,
pocket.
no, I'm sorry.
They were all grouped together in the pocket when I pulled them out.
Okay, so you don't have a photograph depicting them as you observed them touching each other. You're just assuming maybe they were, since they're all in the same pocket, right?
I mean, I would assume there was a photograph. I don't know, I didn't take the photographs that day.
Okay. Well, let's talk about items. Are you saying that you only change gloves for individual items when they exist in a contained compartment such that they may all be touching each other?
No. If they're all touching each other, if they're in a group, like if you had a pile of bloody clothes, I'm not going to change my gloves in between each item of clothing because they're sitting on top of each other.
Okay.
But if there was a pile here and a pile over there, then yes, I would change my gloves in between this pile and that pile.
Okay. So are you saying on the oath that the only time that you do not change your latex gloves when you're retrieving items if you observe them physically touching each other? Is that what you're saying?
That's usually the policy, yes.
But that's not.
That I follow every time.
Okay, because that. Sorry to belabor the point, but what I thought I heard you say is that if items are in the same area,
Right.
you may not necessarily change your gloves, right?
Right, yes, if they're found in the same area, grouped together.
Okay, that's what you meant to say, in the same area, grouped together such that they're touching?
That's what I thought I said, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, and that's the only time that you didn't change your gloves in this case?
I mean, I don't really recall exactly. I follow the same procedures every time.
Oh, can I have one second?
Yes.
Okay. I have here, do you have your reports with you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Could you reference the one that indicates the activity in which you're engaged on October the 26th of 2018?
Okay.
I think that's the one. Now, this refers to your retrieving latents, right?
Okay.
Not retrieving items.
Okay.
Am I right about that? I think I may have the wrong one.
From October 26th of the Jeep you're
Yes.
talking about? It's everything. The latents, the swabs, the collection of items.
Okay. And recovery of items as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in every instance in your report where it says using a fresh pair of latex gloves, would document each instance in which you did so, and that was the purpose of your making that notation. Is that correct?
I change them often in between. I may not know every single time I've changed them. We usually have a couple different pair on, and I'll just take them off. I don't know. I just don't. I could change them 20 times throughout. I just don't notate every single time.
Is that what you're saying happened here?
I honestly don't recall what happened or how many times I changed my gloves. It was quite a while ago.
Let me ask you this. What's the point of making a notation of the fact that you used a fresh pair of latex gloves? What was your intention
Objection
of making that
relevant.
notation?
Mr. Stain, if you have to answer
That's
the
okay.
question.
Okay. Well, you would agree with me that if you changed your gloves on 20 occasions and made note of it 5 times, that would be a bit odd, right?
I don't know. I mean, we've always written our reports that way, so I don't know exactly what you're asking. Would it be odd that I listed it 5 times?
But changed it 20 times.
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe I used the wrong word. You would agree with me it might be a little bit misleading then.
No, I don't think so.
So you just thought to note it sometimes and sometimes you didn't.
I noted it in between each different job that I did. So it's noted before collection of items, it's noted before collecting DNA, and it's also noted before collecting fingerprints.
Okay, let me direct your attention to the second page of your report.
Sure.
Halfway down the page, it says, using a fresh pair of latex gloves, I collected the following items from the Great Chief.
Right.
Zephyr Hills water bottle.
Objection, Your Honor,
Sustained.
proper
Okay. Did you recover a Zephyr Hills water bottle?
I did?
And did you do it using a fresh pair of latex gloves?
Yes, that was the first item I collected.
Okay. And then I think we saw in the photograph also a small Sutter Home white Zinfandel bottle. You
Yes.
collected that as well?
Yes.
Did you change your gloves between collecting those two items?
I don't honestly remember, but seeing how they were both in the passenger side door pocket, I'm not sure. It looks like they came from the same place.
Okay. And there was a small bottle of black bomb scent, bomb fragrance that you also retrieved,
Okay?
among other items, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were saying that you really can attest that you changed your gloves on each occasion, right?
In between each area, I can tell you, yes, I did. But I can't tell you how many times now.
Okay. But you would agree with me that if you don't change your gloves, there is a risk, however small, however great, of cross-contamination. You would agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. And that risk may have manifested in this case. You can't attest that
Objection,
it did.
speculation.
Sustained.
You also retrieved some glass from a car.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed that you use latex gloves then.
Yes.
And the purpose of using latex gloves as opposed to any other gloves is because presumably those gloves themselves are sterile, right?
All our gloves are sterile.
Okay. But when you were collecting the glass from the car,
Right.
you put on latex gloves.
Yes.
And then you put on gardening gloves over the latex gloves.
Yes, sir.
And the gardening gloves were sterilized?
I don't remember, honestly, but we weren't processing that for DNA.
Okay. So why'd you put the latex gloves on underneath?
So I wouldn't get cut by the glass.
I thought that's why you had the gardening gloves.
Oh, yes, that's why we had the gardening gloves on, I guess just out of habit.
Just have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you wanted to make sure that was sterile, what you'd have done was you would put the latex gloves on over the gardening gloves, as opposed to the other way around, right?
If you wanted to make sure it was sterile, correct.
Okay, but you did not have an interest in maintaining the sterility of work?
I think so.
Yeah, of the item at that time. That was
No, we weren't testing it for DNA.
Okay. And you were telling us, I think, that you tested a phone for the presence of blood.
Yes, sir.
Why would you do that?
I was requested to by the detective.
So, and you were saying you found blood on that?
No, I didn't.
There was no blood on it? Okay. When you conduct an investigation, right?
Yes.
Strike that. When you retrieve items in the course of processing a crime scene,
Yes, sir.
in this case a vehicle,
Okay.
you maintain their integrity for purposes of future testing,
Yes.
of DNA, possibly,
Yes.
and fingerprints.
Yes.
And because life tends to leave a trail, right?
Yes.
So if I rub this desk I might not have left a fingerprint because of the manner in which I'm touching it, but maybe I left DNA because of the oil in my hands, for example.
Possibly, yes.
And so if you test that, you might find evidence that I touched it.
Correct.
And so when you do that processing, you do it in order to try and obtain evidence that someone may have touched an item, right?
Yes.
And particularly for fingerprints, smooth surfaces that are non-porous are particularly conducive to leaving fingerprints,
Yes, sir.
such as a water bottle, right?
Yes.
A projectile,
It's a little harder, but yes.
a spent casing, maybe.
Sometimes, yes.
You've analyzed spent casings before,
Yes,
and you've retrieved fingerprints and DNA from them,
I have.
which informed you in the instances in which you have, and were able to identify that somebody, you were able to identify maybe who loaded a firearm.
I have gotten fingerprints off of casings, but never enough to identify somebody.
DNA.
Of a spent casing, I personally have not.
Okay. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for 7 years.
Okay. All right. Like, for example, a water bottle, you retrieved a water bottle or a bottle of iced tea that appears to have been consumed would be a particularly fertile item from which you might retrieve DNA.
DNA, yes.
Somebody was likely putting it to their lips.
Exactly.
Okay. So when you do this kind of processing in an attempt to retrieve information, right? Mm-hmm. And after all the processing, no information is retrieved of value, then it's kind of a wash, right?
What do you mean?
You went, I'm sorry.
What do you mean it's a wash?
You went in looking to find information which may implicate or identify a certain person, but then when you find no information,
It's considered a no-hit.
it's a no-hit.
Yes.
Okay, so it's really of no value.
Yes.
And you don't do the analyses for prints yourself, you send them off?
Yes, sir.
And the DNA as well?
Yes, sir.
So you may know the results, but you wouldn't be the right person to ask about that.
No.
Okay. Can I have a minute, Your Honor?
Yes.
Actually, sorry. Before I go, there was a rental agreement that you retrieved.
Yes, sir.
Is that the same rental agreement that the gentleman with whom you were processing the car retrieved? There were two rental agreements, right?
I don't know. I'm sorry, do you mind if I look at my...
No, please do.
I just have that a 2-page rental agreement for Jameson Francois from Enterprise Rental for the Nissan RSPT.
It was a Nissan RSPT. That's what you retrieved.
Yes, that's what I will say. And that I found it in the glove box, photo marker number 26.
Can I have a quick second?
Yes.
And gold teeth. That would be another pretty likely fertile DNA item. Something you
Yes.
stick in your mouth all the time.
Yes.
Okay. So that was preserved for DNA as well.
I'm assuming, I think that I did swab that at one point. But yes, it would have been preserved.
Okay. You don't need to. You were telling us earlier that you photographed items that you retrieved, and the partner with whom you conducted this processing investigation photographed the items that he retrieved?
He did the entire crime scene photos. The items that I collected, I photographed in the lab.
Okay. So in other words, he would have photographed everything, but you would have photographed just those that you retrieved.
Correct.
Okay. Makes sense. One moment, please. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any redirect examination of this witness?
Investigator Carrol, how many items were swabbed approximately for DNA in this case?
Okay, what would you like me to try to count?
Please, if you would.
Okay.
Please, okay.
Do you want just from the Jeep?
The
Or
entire, all the items that were processed, swabbed, everything else?
I would only have what I actually swapped? Okay. I have 15 different items just from the Jeep. I have I had 5 additional items that were swabbed at a later date, but also items found in the Jeep.
Okay. So does the Broward Sheriff's Office process every single DNA swab that you collect?
No.
Why not?
Objection?
Suggestion.
I think that's beyond her scope of knowledge.
Sustained.
So, Investigator Carrol, with regards to the BSO crime lab, did they conduct all of the DNA analysis for the Miramar Police Department?
They do the analysis. We were not allowed to submit all the swabs.
Okay. With regards to the gloves on that, do you change between every DNA swab that is collected as policy of the Miramar Police Department?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Ma'am, when you say you weren't allowed to submit the swabs, was there a rule that permitted you from doing so for like economic reasons or something?
The lab only allows us to do 10 at a time, and then possibly we could have another round of 10. A lot of times we'll need permission from the DNA manager to even submit any more than 10 on a homicide.
Okay. So if there are like maybe 30 relevant DNA swabs that you do, policy on a homicide case says you only are allowed to submit 10, 20 with permission, hardly ever more.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be we could do 10, then we'd have a second round of 10, then you'd be looking at permission. Recently, it's changed a bit, so it's usually up to the lab whether or not they're gonna allow us to submit anymore.
Thank you, Judge.
Anything else in this witness, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
She excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Madam, thank you very much. You may step down, Ms. Carrol. You're excused.
Thank you so much.
And who's your next witness?
They're here, and it's just for a 5-minute comfort
Sure.
hearing.
Can we take a short recess, ladies and gentlemen, please note pass on the chairs. Remember, you got permission to not discuss the case, don't form any opinion about the case, don't allow anyone to discuss the case regarding serving no research. Just leave your note pass on the chairs. Thank you.